So this morning, I just want to give you guys just a kind of an order of show and what we expect you to take away from having attended this morning's info session. And of course, if after the info session you have additional questions, you can certainly reach out to myself and other identified foundation staff. This morning we're going to be talking about what the foundation means by resident engagement, what resident engagement could look like, what it probably isn't, as by the definition that we're using and for the purpose of this RFP. What are some important things to note about this opportunity? What other ways we can assist you with applying or completing applications if you need it. And then at the very end of the session, we're going to open things up for questions, both through the chat, but we're also going to have folks sort of raise their hand and if they would like to speak out loud. Okay, so what do we mean by resident engagement through this RFP? So resident engagement. So according to the Aspen Institute, resident engagement is an approach that centers on helping community members identify the changes they want to see and then supporting them in pursuing their goals. Because the Hartford Foundation's mission is to advance equitable social and economic mobility and dismantle structural racism in Greater Hartford, supporting resident engagement as defined by the Civic Engagement Resident Engagement Outcome Team has come to mean supporting residents as they engage in civic life. So what do we mean by civic life? Okay, so all of these excerpts have been taken from the Data Haven Community Wellbeing Index, the 2019 version. For those of you who are aware, Data Haven is it's a local nonprofit, but it's like a data consortium. They put together a lot of reports about the goings on in Connecticut and monitoring. Sorry about that. Sort of monitoring what goes on here in Connecticut, what can we learn from the information that we're gathering. So they have provided a definition of what we mean by civic life. Civic life is defined broadly as the attitudes, activities, and investments that build on collective resources, skills, expertise, and knowledge to improve citizens' quality of life and community, encompassing both engagement and trust as the sum of all efforts that promote the common good within communities. Higher levels of civic trust, participation, and engagement are correlated with both more equitable economic outcomes and more positive, healthy outcomes. So that's what we mean by civic life. So according to this RFP, what could resident engagement look like? And I just want to preface what I'm getting ready to say by this actually kind of came up through, so the foundation really didn't define this. A lot of what I'm getting ready to say kind of came through our Access Grants program. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with or had the opportunity to sort of engage with us through our Access Grants program. But these were the kinds of things that were aligned with resident engagement, when we began to define it as evidenced by things that are already going on in the community. So community conversations or workshops designed to engage and challenge residents in their own personal thinking around attitudes and beliefs in alignment with our mission. Volunteerism designed to build goodwill among varying groups of people. Informational outreach campaigns that encourage social cohesiveness, once again in alignment with the foundation's mission. Projects with civic and municipal leaders on behalf of marginalized and underrepresented communities. So we're aware of, this is actually kind of a key point between, as you may know, 2 RFPs were released. There was a a community organizing RFP and a resident engagement RFP, and they were released together in tandem. There's kind of a key difference here in the fact that, you know, there's a little bit of a difference as to who's leading the project and how they're going about it. That's kind of a key difference here. And in the resident engagement space, we're looking at things happening on behalf of those who have been marginalized. What resident engagement is probably not. So while we know in civic spaces, activities can look very different and still be a fit, but at the same time, you know, there are limits, and there is an expectation here of addressing, you know, social issues, once again in alignment with the foundation's mission. So if resident engagement is a really broad thing. All of these things on this slide are resident engagement. It's just not our definition of resident engagement, and not really the kinds of projects that we're looking for through this RFP. Resident engagement is probably not an out of school time recreational youth group. Now, once again, and the word recreational is highlighted because when I think of recreation, I think of, you know, things like sports, you know, things that youth do in their free time, which are all very important, but don't directly address change or participation in civic life. A neighborhood bowling club. And that's just an example of other things that residents can do and do together and should do together, by the way, but not fitting the definition of what we mean by resident engagement. Another example, senior engagement activities not designed for participation in broader civic life. So once again, something absolutely that should take place in our communities, but not necessarily the intent of this, this opportunity. Okay. So different from our community organizing support. If the activities or purpose of the application or proposal elevates itself to power shifting and or power sharing in civic spaces as led by individuals representing marginalized or under-marginalized populations, elevating community of voice, including allowing them to set their agenda, facilitating opportunities for marginalized or underrepresented citizens to seek accountability from institutions. If what you're thinking of requesting elevates itself to those levels, then it might be something that is better suited for the community organizing RFP opportunity. We won't talk too much more about that particular opportunity today, because I do want to give folks who want to talk about resident engagement the opportunity to do so. Once again, we're available to be able to talk about any questions you have for your direct project afterwards. Okay, so other important aspects of this opportunity, in alignment with our mission, you'll notice that applications for projects where the group or organization is led by an individual that has been traditionally and historically underrepresented individual, you'll notice in the rubric that those projects receive extra consideration. a few projects will be funded at the $25,000 level. Some of that is because of, some of that is because of resources, but there's also, particularly in this space, some expectation that there's broader community buy-in. So are there other resources that have been tapped coming from the broader community in support of whatever it is that's being done? But just like always, with any opportunity here at the Hartford Foundation, please use the application as an opportunity to tell the foundation what you need, and throughout our review process, we will address that. Okay. So for application assistance, if for those of you who haven't completed, an application here with the Hartford Foundation, if you have any needs for technical assistance with Foundant, so the actual application, not the application, I'm sorry, your account, you're going to need to start an account with the foundation through Foundant, username, password, accessing the right application. Please feel free to shoot an email over to grants administration. And then I'm going to highlight a staff member, Sue Hills. I don't know if she's been pinned. Say hi, Sue. Sue Hills. There she is. So if you have any technical questions while you're filling out the application, with any attachments or any documents that are being requested of you through the application, Sue is here to help. If you have any questions regarding project fit, or whether or not what it is that you're thinking of will fit the opportunity, or you need assistance with communicating impact to the foundation, please let me know. I'm here and available for that level of assistance. And so now we're gonna open up the floor for questions. And I'm actually going to end the show so that I can see everyone better. And you can either put your question through the chat, or you can raise your hand and staff will identify you. And please excuse me for a second while sorry about that. I see Jenny.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for this. I'm curious if there are two separate organizations that want to kind of work together to do something together. What's the best way to do that through the grant portal?
Yeah. So I know that there's a collaborative feature that you can use through Foundant, and grants administration can help you use that feature from a technical standpoint. Like, I guess if you both wanted to fill out an application together.
Yeah, no, I understood that. I guess I meant more from the point of view of sort of which organization. Is it important that one organization or the other be the lead organization in the request?
That's the approach that I would take. I think it would make your lives a lot easier if you kind of came together in that way and put in one application and just had one point person through the system, fill things out. But we absolutely encourage and recommend that folks work together.
Okay, thank you.
And if I can just quickly add, we can only have a legal relationship with one organization. So, oftentimes if there is a collaborative situation, one organization is officially the one receiving the grant, but perhaps there's a sort of agreement or memorandum of understanding between the collaborative partners on how they'll share funds or, share responsibility for carrying out the work.
I don't see any other hands. I don't know if any other staff sees any other hands.
Sorry, I'm sure it's in the materials, but is there the timing? I know when the application is due, what's the timing for any awards? And are there going to be multiple awards?
Sure. So this opportunity was designed to eventually be open enrolling. And what that would mean is, at some point, there would be like a schedule where essentially every couple of weeks or every couple of months, it would be like, we're going to issue awards for this opportunity. At this point, we do just kind of have one deadline in distribution. This is the first time the foundation is doing this opportunity. So we do need a little bit of time on our end to sort of take stock of how things are going and whether or not changes need to be made, before making it an open enrolling process. And then of course, there's been a lot of interest already, to be perfectly honest. So we're going to need to do a little bit of a resource check as well. The deadline is March 8th. And I believe initial awards at this point, we're looking at around April, mid-April, late April, I believe. Very good. It seems like I got a couple of notes saying that it was clear, which is great because this could have been really ambiguous. So
I have a question.
Sure.
Regarding collaboration, just wanted to know if groups could come together, but it could still be under one umbrella, if you will. Like if they decided that they did not want to be on the grant, on the application, is that okay? So again, just in referencing who this other organization is that would like to participate in a grant such as this, that's doable, correct?
Yeah. So I think coming from that perspective, obviously the applicant is responsible for whatever, activities take place or how funds are spent. But there is, we're not dictating, like, oh, don't work with so-and-so, that, I don't even mean it like that. I just mean it from a perspective of if that's part of your plan, to work with certain folks or to garner certain volunteers, absolutely do so. Just keeping in mind that the applicant organization is, responsible for managing the actual grant with the foundation and their relationship with the foundation. That's all.
Thank you, Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you stated that I see that it is in the chat, but you could also email this information to the folks here on the webinar today. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I may not have the absolute best email for everybody. So if you are interested in receiving the webinar and you use multiple emails, please send an email to me and I'll put my email in the chat, letting me know you want it. That way I make sure you get it.
So I'm looking for hands. And I don't want to keep everybody because I know we're all busy. Oh, there we go, Jenny.
I just wanted to add, I think it was a great, brief, concise session. And I filled out your survey recently. You guys are doing such a better job outreaching to people. And I just want to make sure I acknowledge that because my perspective is the last few years. And I just really appreciate that. I love these smaller, quick opportunities, and I encourage everybody. So thank you very much for the work you've done on that.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, if there aren't any further questions, I'll give you 34 minutes of your day back.
Sierra, I'm sorry, I have a question. This is Chanel from the Grow Hartford Youth Program.
Hi, Chanel.
Hi. So I was just wondering, based on my understanding of the resident engagement grant, it is for the purpose of gathering residents to kind of elevate their civic participation.
It could be, but it's I guess how you define civic participation. So we're not necessarily talking about voting or but it could. I'm trying not to be ambiguous here, but it could be, but it's the sort of intentionality behind it. What do you hope that the participating individuals will get out of the interaction? Is it a contributing to the change of attitudes and beliefs? Is it an act of sort of volunteerism? Is it an act of social cohesion? You know, what is the intent? Or if it's eventually something by way of advocacy or longer term engagement, that might be a better fit for the community organizing opportunity.
Oh, okay. And I guess I'm specifically asking because I'm interested in doing a lot of like grassroots organizing. And so I'm wondering how that fits into this particular grant and kind of, organizing the residents to kind of make concrete changes in their own community. And from my perspective, I see this grant as almost kind of getting people to talk about the issues, but not necessarily implementing the real change. And as a resident of Hartford, I could, and I just want to, I want to share this because this is about the marginalized communities. As a resident of Hartford, I feel the poverty and the desperation and the hopelessness rising in my community. And I haven't felt this way in the 5 years that I've lived in Hartford. Mm-hmm. So things are dire right now in my community. It's dire. I hear gunshots all the time. I was never afraid to leave my house, and now I'm afraid to leave my house. Mm-hmm. Right? So I just feel like I want to know a little bit more about how these priorities are selected and how they're funneled into ideas around discussing the issue, researching the issue, but not implementing the real and the tangible changes for the issue. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
So Chanel, that sounds, so there were two RFPs. There was the community organizing RFP and the resident engagement RFP. Today's info session was about the resident engagement RFP. What you're talking about sounds more closely aligned to the community organizing RFP, and we can certainly talk, you and me individually, sort of one-on-one, if you would like to do so.
Yeah, I did. I came to both. Okay. I came to the other session as well, and it seemed very similar to this one as well. So that's why I'm bringing it up now, because I kind of felt that both avenues were in the same way. However, I'm willing to really look more into both of them and see where the grassroots organizing fits in, really.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
I might just quickly comment. We have created what we're calling a rubric, which is sort of a fun word that people don't normally use in real life, but it's essentially a set of criteria that we are going to use when we look at the applications to see how it does align with the purpose that Sierra has really clearly described here, and sort of align with the values that the foundation has in terms of dismantling structural racism and promoting economic and social mobility. And so I do think it might be helpful for folks when you're trying to think about whether or not your particular project or activity, whether or not it is aligned. If you look at this rubric, you'll actually see what we will be looking for. And it might help you think about that fit. We're trying to provide as much information as possible because we really value everyone's time. And we definitely don't want anyone to be spending time on an application if it's not going to be a good fit. And if you're doing some other activity that's, worthwhile and great, there might be a different way that you might want to come into the Hartford Foundation for resources, but we definitely don't want you to complete an entire application and then, not be funded for that activity. We'd rather you be out there doing the good work that you're all doing every day. So have a look at that rubric. I'm also going to drop the link to the rubric for the community organizing RFP. And it might actually even be helpful for folks if you want to compare and see the differences through that. You can see the, different ways we're prioritizing different things between those two, in case that's helpful.
I feel like I want to give another minute, but it's just so silent.
Can I take a second? Because I actually just got a direct message and I'm not going to call the person out, but I'm going to answer the question because it actually might be helpful to everybody. There is a presentation and a recording of the community organizing info session that happened on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we had a session very similar to this one, to where Sierra did also a great job of explaining the community organizing RFP. And if you go to, I think I got the right link. If you go to this page, I think, or maybe it's the current opportunities, maybe a colleague of mine will correct me, but you'll be able to find the recording and the presentation that Sierra shared on community organizing on Tuesday.
Okay. So I think that this concludes the resident engagement info session. Once again, if you would like to receive immediately after the presentation, not immediately, give us some time to draw down the recording. But if you would like to receive the slides and the recording, please email Sue Hills. And also this information will also be posted on our website. Thank you all.